What's going on, guys? So it's day one after the first night of the draft. I just want to give you a little update on landing spots, my thoughts, where I say they're going in rookie drafts, and all that. So obviously, spot number one, you got Fernando Mendoza. Raiders make the obvious pick. He may spend a little time waiting behind Kirk. That's not too uncommon. We see that a pretty good bit. Uh, but if you need a quarterback in Superflex, I'm still okay taking him at the 102, 103, wherever you need him. He's a good quarterback, has a good landing spot. They're getting his surrounding cast better, so not much to say about there. That's the obvious pick everyone knew was coming. So next up, you got number three. This was a bit of a shock. The Arizona Cardinals took running back Jeremiah Love. So I'm going to be the optimist here. I know a lot of people hate that landing spot for fantasy, and I really don't. They say the running back group is too crowded, but James Conner, he's pretty old, coming off a severe injury. They give him a 1 year, barely above vet minimum contract, probably just as a thank you because he does mean a lot to the franchise and the organization. But I don't think he is in their long-term plans. They gave Algier backup type running back money anyways, so I'm not too worried about him. And then Trey Benson, honestly, I would not be surprised if he gets traded. So I don't have any bad outlooks for Jeremiah Love. I actually think this is a great landing spot with new head coach Mike LaFleur. He was Breece Hall's offensive coordinator in his best season in the NFL. So I could see him using Love the same way he used Breece Hall. I expect tons of passes. I expect a good running game. Outside of last year, Arizona's actually been very good running the ball the past about 4 or 5 years, but last year they did take a downturn. I don't think the offensive line is as bad as people make it out to be. It is not as bad as the Raiders line last year. That line was bottom three. Cardinals are probably hovering around 16 to 20-ish right now, which is not great, don't get me wrong, but it's not as bad as it's made out to be. All right, next up, we got Carnell Tate going number 4 to the Tennessee Titans. I love this landing spot. It was not on my radar, actually. I think they were mocked going Jeremiah Love for the longest, but then when the Cardinals took him, they had to, veer a different route. But I love this landing spot. Carnell Tate knows how to get open. He knows how to read the defenses. He knows how to find the zones. He has very, very strong hands. And with the Cam Ward gunslinger type mentality, I think they pair together perfectly. And he becomes my wide receiver 1 in this class. I know Tyson and Lemon were all kind of neck and neck. You could go either way you wanted to. To me, he's now cemented as my wide receiver 1. Love the landing spot. Love Daboll. I think he's going to do a great job getting him open. Congrats to Cam Ward for getting you a solid weapon. All right, next up we got Jordyn Tyson. So this one, I'm a bit iffy on, to be honest with you. I'm not completely sold on it. Olave's there. Shuck, he showed promise last year, but I don't know if he can support 2 fantasy assets, is what I'm saying. I know Olave's good last year, but he had 156 targets with Tyson now there and an upgraded running game. I don't see Olave repeating as getting 156 targets again. So this landing spot, I think, is better for the actual NFL than it is for fantasy, but who knows? Maybe Shuck comes out, shocks us all, and he's a legit top 10 quarterback, and he can support both of these wide receivers being top 20 options. But Tyson is uber talented. I would look to get him in about the 103 to 105 range, depending on your needs, how the draft boards fall, where Mendoza goes, and how you decide between him and the next guy that we're about to talk about in a second. So number 13, this is the real shock of the draft. That would be Ty Simpson, was drafted number 13 overall to the Rams. I cannot believe they did that. I thought for sure Ty Simpson was going to be an Arizona Cardinal, but I guess Rams had other plans. I don't know why they would take a backup quarterback when they're in a win now mode. I get planning for the future. I get Stafford's old, doesn't have much years left, but you're trying to win now. You're trying to get a Super Bowl, and you take a backup project quarterback at 13 overall. That just does not make sense to me. But they took him. I think as far as actual NFL and actual career, this is the best spot Ty Simpson could have landed. He gets to sit behind a Hall of Famer. He gets to learn from Sean McVay, 2 brilliant football minds of how to play quarterback to learn from. This is about as good as it gets for him. So if you need immediate quarterback production in your Superflex league, obviously you do not go this route because he's not going to give you anything this year, maybe nothing next year, depending on how long Stafford's got left in the tank. But whenever he does get his shot, I think he's going to be excellent. Honestly, I think this is going to be kind of a wishy-washy spot. I think you could see him going from anywhere from 106 to like the 202, just depending on, who's in your league, what they need. Are they willing to wait? Because this is an investment pick. This is not a draft and use now pick. This is pure investment. Like you could be waiting a year, 2 years, however long for you to actually pay off on this hit. But I do think when he does get his chance, he's going to be very good. Our number 16, we got Kenyon Sadiq going to the Jets at number 16. Personally, I do not like this spot. Unfortunately, Kenyon Sadiq goes to a now semi-crowded Jets offense that already had Garrett Wilson and Mason Taylor and Brees Hall. Now you add in Kenyon Sadiq and someone we'll talk about later in Omar Cooper Jr. It gets pretty murky pretty fast. What already projects to be a pretty poor team, and now you have Geno Smith on the ball. Maybe he has another career renaissance. Who knows? But I don't know. I just don't like it. I was already kind of iffy on Sadiq. Yes, he's an absolute freak. He's an athletic specimen, but he still didn't really have the production you want from a tight end going this early. And then now he lands in an already crowded spot who just took a tight end in the second round last year. I don't know, man. I just don't really like it. I know people are still going to take him probably 105 to 107 ish in TEP, tight end premium dynasty leagues, but I don't think I'll have any shares of him unless he does a massive fall. That's just me personally, though. You could see it completely different. All right, at pick 20, the Eagles traded up to take wide receiver Mekhi Lemon. Now, this is absolutely massive. Obviously, let's address the elephant in the room first. AJ Brown's definitely going to get traded. I don't feel like you trade up for Lemon in this spot unless you know for sure AJ Brown's gone. So for the Eagles trading up like that, wanting to pair Devontae Smith and Mekhi Lemon, I think is a perfect match. I think that Mekhi fits this offense perfectly. Jalen Hurts threw to the short, intermediate, middle of the field more than any other spot on the field last year, which is exactly where Mekhi Lemon dominates. So I do feel like this is a match made in heaven. Personally, I think I now have Lemon over Tyson. I think I kind of talked myself into that during this video, actually, because I did have Tyson over Lemon, but I think I'll now go Lemon over Tyson, but I'm still going to be flip-flopping that pretty much the entire time. But they're interchangeable, whichever you like better. I don't think anyone's going to fault you for taking them in either way. So whichever one you prefer, I think I prefer Lemon now. It's a perfect fit. All right, so at number 24, the Browns selected KC Concepcion. Love the player. I don't know how good this landing spot is from a draft aspect. For a fantasy aspect, obviously in real life, he's going to be a great player for him. But fantasy, he should get decent target volume. Really his only competition. I know there's Cedric Tillman, but he's not a target monster. Judy, same thing. Honestly, Fannin might be the number one target on this offense next year. We still don't know who's going to start quarterback between Deshaun Watson or Shadur. I think Dylan Gabriel's kind of out of that competition. So I think it does come down between those two. So honestly, I think this is going to still fall in that 106 to 108 fantasy rookie draft range. It's not really a pick I love. I think I would still try to move those picks if you can. If somebody has rookie fever, you get on the clock and they want to move up, I definitely think I would have no problems with moving this pick. That's just me. I don't think he's anything crazy. All right. So at number 30, you have Omar Cooper Jr., like I mentioned before, headed to the Jets. Again, I don't know. I like Omar Cooper as a prospect, but it's just going to be so hard to project him taking that leap and being a consistent fantasy option. It's hard for players drafted this late that already have a dominant wide receiver one on their team to be consistent fantasy options. It happens. Trust me. I know. You have Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, you have T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, etc. I get it. But I personally don't project him to be that tier of player. And with already having Wilson, now Sadiq, Mason Taylor, Brees, struggling quarterback option, it's not my favorite. I think I kind of view him like Casey Concepcion. Like if he's there and he's the best on the board, you take him. But if someone has rookie fever and wants to come up and get him, I don't have any problems with shopping this. I would trade it for whatever you could get that you feel like is fair value. But who knows? I could be proven wrong, and he could be an absolute stud. And then you got number 32, Mr. Irrelevant of the first round, Jadarian Price. Now, this was basically the one spot a running back could go in the first round that would bring the outside of Jeremiah Love, of course, that would bring their fantasy value to life was the Seahawks. Now, It immediately takes him into that 105 to 107 range. Everybody knows the hit rates on first round running backs. If you're a running back drafted in the first round, your hit rate goes exponentially higher. So, him getting that kind of draft capital on the Seahawks, where there's already a void, people are going to skyrocket him up their boards. Yeah. So, the Seahawks have a clear need at running back. They took him. So, people are going to go crazy on him. Personally, I don't know if he's that good. And I also don't know if the Seahawks is as good of a landing spot as people think. I mean, think about it. They just had Kenneth Walker on a pitch count basically the entire season. They went 50-50 between him and Charbonnet. And I know Charbonnet has a 20 ACL, but he will be back at some point during the year. And they also signed Emmanuel Wilson. So now you have Price, Wilson, and at some point Charbonnet, who they've already shown that they'll go to in all goal line situations. I don't know, man. If someone in your league is super high on Jadarian Price, I probably would trade out of my pick if they're willing to come up for him. He could be an excellent player, and this would be the spot to do it, but there's just too much murkiness, and he wasn't really a prospect that really jumped off the page to me. So I'm kind of going to hold off on him. I mean, if you need a running back, you're desperate and no one's willing to trade, take him, obviously. Outside of Love, to me, he has the best chance in this draft. No, depending on what happens day two, that's still to be seen. But as of right now, he's the only other running back that went round one. So you kind of got to take him. Now, I do have an honorable mention Cam Scatabo. So he avoided the Love train, and we should now start seeing a huge spike in his value. I know he was been down for a while. He had the injury, and then he had all the Love speculation that they're going to draft Jeremiah Love. But guess what? They didn't. So he is now, wheels are up for Cam Scatabo. I'm gonna hope to see his value skyrocket, KTC values, etc. I hope he didn't sell too low. I almost did. I almost sold him for the 110. So glad I decided to hold off and do that and risk it on the Love landing spot. So that was a great payoff for me. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed my thoughts. Tune in for round two or day two, I guess. I guess it would be round twos and threes. If any other fantasy landing spots happen, I'll make a video on that. And if you enjoyed, like, comment, and subscribe, and see you in the next one.